It's bow time.
Senior day, Michael Young leading his senior compatriots out on the court here tonight. Jamel Artis, Young, and Sheldon Jeter. Now for our Food Line starting lineups for North Carolina. Berry, Pinson, Jackson, Hicks, and Meeks. Berry with 19 points on the 31st in that victory over Pittsburgh back at Chapel Hill. For Pitt, Artis, Johnson, Jones, Young, and Jeter. Cameron Johnson with 24 points in that loss at Chapel Hill, Brian. So Kevin Stallings would like for him to really get it going today.
And it's important that they get started immediately. A lot of hoopla with senior day. You want to feed off of that emotion and get started early.
UNC leads the overall series 11-3, won back at Chapel Hill 80-78. And this is a Saturday afternoon game, Brian, and Coach Williams, we chatted with him just a few moments ago. He said, well, you know, our luck with Saturday afternoon games this season, it's been okay, not great.
Well, one of the things for North Carolina is their pace. We'll be able to see earlier in the game if they pretty much have brought it early, because they're a team that wants to get up and down and share the ball. So interesting to see how this thing starts off.
The students at the Oakland Zoo are ready to go here. Kevin Stallings in practice yesterday told us that he wants to control tempo as much as possible. He has a limited bench, though. We're underway in Pittsburgh. Pitt controls the tip. Chris Jones, the senior from Teaneck. Michael Young, as we noted, is the leading scorer in the ACC. Jamel Artis is number 3. Young being guarded by Isaiah Hicks. Jumper on the way, off the mark. North Carolina ball. How important is it for North Carolina on one side to weather this senior day itis, if you will, Brian, and for Pitt not to get overwhelmed by North Carolina's numbers?
Well, and the biggest thing for Pitt is you see them come out into a zone. Pitt has to be able to draw the bigs from North Carolina out and exploit them, because they're not fast on the perimeter. For North Carolina, you keep doing what you do. You get the ball inside, you look for opportunities to turn Pitt over and get out in transition.
Roy Williams in his 14th season at Chapel Hill, 8th on the Division I wins list with 389. Our officials today are Mike Eads, James Breeden, and Jeff Clark. Kevin Stallings told us he wanted his Panthers to close out on the threes, do not give up jump shots, and rebounding. And right there, Kennedy Meeks does what Carolina has done so well this year.
And Dwayne, that's one of the things that Kennedy Meeks does so well. You see him, his ability to be able to tip that ball to himself. Not the most athletic big, but he's got his length and he uses his body really well. You see right now, he said tipping himself to it. You see what looks like Jeter taking a shot.
Now, Jeter took a shot to the mouth, his first foul.
We talked about North Carolina. One of the things that they do obviously so well is the offensive rebounds, leading the ACC and rebounding. That puts a lot of pressure on the Pitt guys. They're already got a short bench. They've got to do a better job of being able to block them out and limiting Carolina to one possession.
Makes a 63% free throw shooter going into this one. Coming off of 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks against Louisville, misses both free throws, and we're still not at 0 early on in Pittsburgh. Jeter inside against Meeks. Does not get the roll. Young comes up with the rebound. Cameron Johnson was so dangerous last month up at Chapel Hill. Loses the ball, gets it back. Artis for 3. Tight rims, nerves.
Well, I think that, I remember playing a long time ago on my senior day, and it takes the first couple of minutes to get past those nerves, because you want to do well. You've got your family here, and it's definitely a big day, but you have to calm yourself and get to the things that you normally do.
Justin Jackson has really been hitting that shot this season. First 3 to go down.
And Dwayne, that's one of the things that Pitt has to do, is they have to keep an eye on Justin Jackson. We talked about in the open about how improved he is as a three-point shooter. If you're going to play a zone, you have to keep your eye on the three-point shooters.
Jackson averaging 18.7 points a game, 7th in the league this season. Roy Williams told us defensively he wants his team to close out. Jeter, first points of the day for Pitt.
And one of the things for Pitt is going to be important, you see that they're trying to spread the Carolina bigs out. You bring them away from the basket. We talked about their ability to be able to penetrate and kick. You saw that on display, being able to get into the lane over to Jeter for the knockdown three.
Meeks with another one of those tip rebounds. Berry in the lane. Loose ball, Carolina recovers. Meeks inside.
Well, Dwayne, this is how Carolina hurts you, is their ability to be able to keep the ball alive. You see down low to Meeks to reach for the foul on the floor, but Carolina does a really good job of being able to keep the ball inside and active.
You see Roselle Nix, number 25, in. He's in earlier than Kevin Stallings wanted him because Jeter just picked up his second foul.
And that's one of the things that's hurt them, because normally if it's Young or Artis that gets in foul trouble, that limits them because they do have a short bench.
Meeks makes it a 5-3 North Carolina lead. One of the other things that Pitt has to be concerned with is bodies, because they simply don't have the numbers because of injuries. They're dealing with a very short bench. Young was hit on the way up.
But to go back to your point about the shortness of the bench, you know, you have to make sure that you don't get early fouls, because, again, there's a lot of motion going on. And if your major guys in Young, Artis, and then also obviously Jeter, you have to make sure that you keep those guys on the floor, because they present your best shot. We talked about in the opening the fact that seniors and so much of their productivity come from their senior guys. Jeter going out on the bench is not something that Kevin Stallings is looking for, because obviously he had a big game in that win against Florida State last week.
Michael Young had 24 points in that loss. Heartbreaking defeat to Wake Forest on Wednesday night, where Pitt had a 19-point lead and lost. Isaiah Hicks finds room inside. Ball stuck on the rim.
How many times have we seen early in this game Meeks being able to get his hands on those balls? And I think that what makes Carolina so dangerous is that they're passing the ball east to west, and they get their bigs enough touches, and then they're doing a really good job of being able to crash.
Buried deep in the corner. Off the mark, Isaiah Hicks with the rebound. Rebounds 9-2 already in favor of Carolina as Theo Pinson drains a three.
And that's disheartening for the Pitt players, because you play really good defense, and then you give up an offensive rebound only to be able to have Theo Pinson knock down a three-point shot.
The rebounding numbers for North Carolina are just staggering, a 13.4 average over their opponents.
This is one of the advantages for Pitt, is that you've got players in Jamel Artis who can take his man off the basket, and he's strong enough to be able to finish around the rim.
Cameron Johnson with the rebound for Pitt. Panthers opportunity to tie or take the lead. Pitt has had an up and down season, victories over Florida State and what at the time was an 11th ranked Virginia team, but have had some head-scratching losses. The aforementioned one at Wake Forest Wednesday, the most recent. Berry, three. Nix holds it in, all of that 6'11" and 300 pounds.
Well, Nix giving Kennedy Meeks a run for his money, because normally I don't think Kennedy Meeks has ever been in a position where someone is able to body him that particular time. Nix being able to put his body and come up with that rebound. And
that's one of the things that Stallings mentioned during practice yesterday, that the fact that they can put a big body like Nix on Kennedy Meeks. He's not accustomed to someone that big. Artis' three is off the mark. Ball out of bounds, going to Pitt. Roosevelt Nix giving it all he can on senior day.
Look at this, a Silicon Valley server farm.
Play together.
That was Roy Williams with our PNC Coaches Insight, and those numbers are just amazing, Brian.
I mean, you look at 86 points a game, scoring margin 15, out-rebounding the opponent by 13. Those are staggering as you see Cameron Johnson come out and knock down that three.
And that would make a load of difference for Pitt if he is on, as he was when he hit 6 threes back at Chapel Hill on the 31st. Roy Williams has inserted Nate Britt and Tony Bradley into the lineup for Theo Pinson and Meeks. Berry finds Bradley inside, and Nix is not backing down. Foul called on the big fella.
Well, you see the great penetration, and you see the nice dump up by, and you see Nix come over and say, "Not in my house." And the look, I mean, and you think this guy's not pumped up? I mean, obviously, senior day, Pitt needs this win, but you gotta love the energy and the minutes that Nix has been able to give Kevin Stallings' group so far.
Yeah, the redshirt junior from Pensacola State Junior College is the brother of Roosevelt Nix of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lineup changes for Kevin Stallings. Bradley coming into this game, 61% free throw shooter. The freshman hits the second one. Justice Kithcart, a freshman from Durham, North Carolina, now in the game for Pitt. He will take over ball handling duties and allow Jamel Artis to move to the wing.
And Kithcart's one of those guys that they're thinking is the point guard of the future for him. Give him a different look as you see the great penetration. But Artis, and that's one of the things that they have to do is be able to get him in isolation to break down the Carolina bigs and get to the basket.
Pitt now up 11-9 on Carolina, 13:44 remaining in the first here at the Peterson's Event Center. Jackson, he seems to find spots all over the court to score.
Well, one of the things that makes him such a good scorer is that he's always in motion. He's not settling for the three-point shot. He's not just sitting and waiting for the ball. And that last time, you see the best way to attack a zone is to get into the teeth of it. Bradley came up, then he was able to get the ball to Jackson for that nice little floater.
Young steps back, buries it.
Well,
ACC's leading scorer.
And one of the things we talk about, you see Hicks is not comfortable being able to come outside and have to guard. Young is going to set him out because he understands that if he doesn't bite on the drive, then he opens up the three-point shot.
Nix with the rebound.
And Nix has come in. He's come in and has done his job as being able to be that extra big body.
Artis for three.
Pitt's doing a really good job here being able to feed off the crowd emotion. We talked about the fact that they average at 8 threes a game. Great energy for the Pitt Panthers.
They're feeling it on senior day. Pitt started out 2 of 7 from the floor, have hit their last 4. Crowd getting into it. Nine to shoot for Carolina. Berry, deep three from the corner is in.
See, if you're North Carolina, you've been here before. They've got veteran guys, and they understand that, hey, Pitt's going to have their emotions. If you're Roy Williams, you weather this emotional storm. You keep doing what you're doing. Pitt called for the travel right here. And one of the things about Carolina is that they have fresh bodies. Roy's going to go at least 9 deep, and he can funnel guys in and out. If you're Kevin Stallings, you still tell your guys to make sure that we're going to play zone, keep an eye on the three-point shooters.
Stallings has inserted Jonathan Milligan into the lineup, and Corey Manigault. North Carolina has countered with Luke May and Theo Pinson back in the lineup. Early on, Pittsburgh on senior day, lots of emotion. Britt, open jumper. Bradley rebound.
Well, going into the break, we talk about the seniors, and they come up big. Artis and Young stepping up, hit up, riding their motion. 17-14.
Double meat and cheese, classic. Grilled onions and Thousand Island.
You got the app.
Actually, I've been playing, and I took a pause the other day when my 7-year-old daughter defeated me and talked a little trash to me, so I haven't picked it up since then. So she's let me know that Daddy doesn't have the touch.
Tony Bradley at the free throw line for North Carolina, the freshman, 6'11", from Bartow, Florida. His first point of the game. And he hits 2. North Carolina now within 1 of Pitt. 11:37 remaining here in the first half. Kithcart and Milligan loses it. Carolina comes up with it. Berry over to Britt.
You saw Nate Britt come in here and he's a pit bull for Roy Williams against a lot of other guards. Kit Carr's got to do a better job because Britt's going to be on him.
Check that. Jonathan Milligan was the guard for Pitt as Barry. Barry's another three.
Well, and you saw that one time Young turned his head. Obviously, you have to keep your eyes on Joel Barry at all times because he's one of those guys that if you allow him to get rolling, he'll get hot really fast. You got to keep him in your sights and not let him get off to a good start.
Carolina on an 8-0 run. Corey Manigault inside, draws the foul from Luke May. Nice ball movement.
Well, and that's one of the things that you're going to always see from North Carolina is that they're going to pass the ball outside, and you see Joel Barry, and that's one of the things that Roy Williams always talked about, pace, sharing the ball, and that's one of the things that Carolina does that's so good about it because not only are they looking to push the ball, they share it. They understand that, hey, if I pass and make that extra pass, that's going to get guys a shot, and that was definitely on display.
Meeks comes into the game along with 7th Woods for North Carolina. Artis and Chris Jones return for Pittsburgh. And they are joined by Damon Wilson, number 3, a sophomore from Atlanta. Manigault at the free throw line, the nephew of the legendary Earl the Goat Manigault from New York. Seventh Woods, the freshman. Pinson open for a 3.
And if you're Pitt, you give Theo Pinson that shot. He's more of a penetrator. He'll shoot those shots. But again, for Pitt, you got to stay with what you were doing before that was successful. Continue to spread out Carolina, get the penetration, force their big guys to have to guard the perimeter guys.
Pitt's running their offense the way they want it right now with the spreading out, as you mentioned, with Nix back in the game in the post. Looking at this team, how do they have these up and down games?
Well, it's a matter of being able to finish because as you see right now, a lot of times either Artis is in foul trouble or Young. And what you need to win is you have to have your number 2, your big scorers to be able to be on the floor at the same time.
It's been the victories we mentioned, but then some of those losses, Louisville just crushed them. And the loss on Wednesday night is one I'm not sure when they're going to get over it.
Well, you talk about the fact that they've been hampered by injuries and that they do have that short bench. And so you have to be able to have guys that can finish. When you get into the last 5 minutes of the game, fatigue becomes a factor. They ain't able to execute, and that's something that Kevin Stallings has struggled with, but obviously been evident in some of the wins, most notably last Saturday when they won against NC State.
Makes turnaround, short hook in the post.
How good has he been this year?
He has elevated his game to the surprise of some people.
Well, and it's the fact that he's really got great hands. I think that that's underrated about him. His ability to be able to get the ball down low, and he's not going to bully you. I like that he's got a little finesse, and he obviously losing the weight over the summer has contributed to that.
21-19, North Carolina leading Pitt on senior day. Carolina comes up with a turnover. Great play by Justin Jackson defensively. The Tar Heels are constantly in attack mode. Hicks. Foul called on Manigault.
And see, that's one of the things that I love about Hicks' game is the fact that he can come outside by the free throw. You saw him being able to put the ball on the floor. He's athletic, but he's also agile enough to be able to get around. The problem with him is the fact that Roy Williams talked about it, is being able to stay on the floor.
Coach Williams told us, he said, it would be nice because you're really good when you're out there. You didn't get into the foul trouble. Time to look at the nation's top 25, brought to you by the Honda dealers of the Carolinas. At one point, there were 7 ACC schools ranked in the top 25. Louisville and Carolina may shuffle positions. Hicks gets the roll on the second. 22-19, North Carolina. If you were Pitt, this is a game in increments, correct? You want to manage every few minutes, right?
Yeah, because Carolina is one of those teams that wants to get out in transition. Obviously, you don't want this game to be into the 80s. You want to be able to take advantage of the opportunities and slow it down and run your half-court offense. If you're Carolina, you want to push. You want those extra possessions. You want to turn Pitt off, pin over, and get out and get points on transition.
Roy Williams Tar Heels on an 11-2 run right now. Foul on 7th Woods, his first. Pittsburgh taking its time in this offensive set. Artis rises, fires. Nix with the rebound. Jones jumper. Here come the Tar Heels. Pitson into Hicks, batted away. Carolina still maintains possession. Meeks nice interior passing, and he gets the easy one.
Well, and we talked about the fact that that's what Carolina wants to do. They want to be able to get out in transition. And you saw Kennedy Meeks still staying there. And this is where they excel. This is where they're going to put pressure. And we talked about the fact that how does the pace work for Pitt? Again, you want to be able to keep it into a half court. Carolina, you want to speed this thing up. You don't want this game to be in the 50s or 60s.
Nix creating space inside. It is blocked by Meeks. Ball out of bounds to North Carolina. Kennedy Meeks taking it and laying it in. Has 8 assists, Brian, on 8 field goals. And that suggests what to you?
Well, Roy Williams talks about he wants to make sure that they share the ball. A lot of that is the bigs being able to get offensive rebounds and throwing it out for jump shots, as we see yet another opportunity.
This time the ball out of bounds to Pitt. Pitt coming into this game 4-11 in the conference, 15-13 overall. Tied for 12th. They have gone 3.5 minutes now without a field goal.
Well, one of the things that
without any points.
Well, Pitt, what they have to do is they've got Jeter back on the floor now. And I think that with those 3 guys is that you go back to what you were doing before. You see what looks like a turnover from Pitt. The officials are talking, but
Jeff Clark and James Breeding are discussing just who tipped the ball.
You see the pass. It looked like that was a good call. Carolina ball.
The crowd didn't like it.
Obviously, I don't think they're going to like any of those calls if it's going Carolina's way.
And the key will be also to watch how Sheldon Jeter plays. Remember, he has 2 fouls. Tar Heels playing very well on offense. Execution has been pretty good. No turnovers yet. And there is the first one, the moment it comes out of my mouth. Young battling against Hicks. And there is Isaiah Hicks' first foul of the game.
And this is where Pitt was able to jump off to the early league, is the ability of Young and Artis to be able to penetrate against the bigs. We talked about the fact that the Carolina bigs don't want to go outside the free throw line and have to play that one-on-one. This is what Pitt has to do, is that they keep going and then get to the basket, draw fouls, and finish with layups.
Young misses the first free throw. Hicks and fouling, something we discussed with Roy Williams just a few moments before the game, and it's a matter of being smart about what you're doing out there. Pitt's first points in 4 minutes and 8 seconds. Still without a field goal, though, are the Panthers over a 6-minute span. 24-20, North Carolina leading Pitt, 6:30 remaining in the first half. You're watching ACC basketball on the ACC Network. Barry gets into the lane. Hicks comes up with the rebound, loose ball. Pitson, deep pass into Meeks, right at the buzzer, but did he get it off?
I think they're going to go to the monitor to look at that close. Pitt's done a really good job of being able to limit Carolina, because that zone has given them problems. Obviously, Carolina's a really good three-point shooting team, but by playing that zone, they have not been able to throw the ball inside to Meeks and to Bradley and Hicks like they want. And I think that's one of the things that's helped them. You talked on the other end that they've had those droughts where they're not scoring, but I think a lot of that is being able to have Artis and Young and Jeter on the floor at the same time, because that's where they're strong.
What are the things? What do you think, Brian?
Ball's in his hand, 0 on the clock. No basket.
No basket. One of the things Kevin Stallings mentioned to us at practice yesterday, too, was among the other things that they have to be concerned with, what you just alluded to, as the officials made the call, no basket. Mike Eads just came over, said the ball was still in his hands when he shot it, shot clock violation, no basket. But Kevin Stallings had talked to us about, really limiting the effectiveness of what Carolina can do inside.
Well, and I think that's what you do with the zone. They still have to do a better job of limiting the second shots. But I think up until this point, if you're Kevin Stallings, you love the pace and you love exactly where you guys are right now.
Pitt really needs to get Cameron Johnson in the game offensively, though, because he is such a dilemma for North Carolina defensively. There he is. Deep three on the way and off. Excellent rebounding effort by Sheldon Jeter.
And that's what you get with Sheldon Jeter. He's a hustle guy. He's going to do those extra plays. Weak side, you got to put a body on him. And I think that for Kevin Stallings, having him in the game, that gives you another guy that not only is a scorer, but a rebounder, shot blocker. And this is a guy that does an awful lot for them, and they need his presence on the floor.
Jeter, very effective for Pitt this year, 71% free throw shooter. Rebound, steals, and blocks. He leads the team. That sounds like Brian Oliver.
Well, that was back in the day.
DeJuan Blair, the only Pitt Panther to do that. Jeter, an all-academic ACC member, a Justice Major. Gets the shot to drop. 21-24. As you notice, this is not a bad situation for Pitt, considering the lack of field goals.
Yeah, again, we talk about the fact that zone is creating problems for Carolina. But for Carolina, what they need to do, they've been able to excel with the high-low. You get the high-low, and you get a flash by Bradley, get it down to Hicks. And I think the penetration has helped them.
Hicks battling with Jeter for the loose ball. Jump ball is called. Possession arrow favors Pitt.
Roy Williams, you didn't like that shot by Justin Jackson. Contested three. But again, the way that Pitt is playing, they are not allowing Carolina to get into their sets. And I think for them to be able to win this game, they have to continue to make Carolina play outside of the norm, pushing them up and down and getting transition.
How much differently, Brian, is it for Pitt that Jamel Artis, who is not a point guard, has had to play out of necessity this year in that position? Jones with a nice drive. 7.5-minute drought is now over from the floor for Pitt. They're within one. Jackson counters.
We're talking about Justin Jackson, the fact that he can score in a lot of different ways. I love the fact that he was able to get right there inside. As you see, Artists bring the ball up, and that's one of the things that has probably hampered him a little bit, but I think that it's also been something that Kevin Stallings has been able to exploit, especially if you have a big, as you see Jones penetrate for another foul against North Carolina.
And that appeared to be the same play because he got to the same point as he did on the last set.
Well, and the thing is that they've been really good at being able to spread Carolina out. You want to keep movement from left to right, and I think that that's one of the things in the first half, as you see Jones go to the basket for two, that they have to knock down those free throws. And again, that's more time you're running off of the clock. You don't want to get up and down with Carolina. We talked about the fact they want to keep this game in the 60s, not the 80s.
Luke May comes in for North Carolina, and to a rousing round of applause, Roosevelt Nix comes in as Sheldon Jeter, who gave them some great energy minutes considering his his foul problems right now, sits down. Jones hits the second free throw.
Well, you talk about Nix and the fact that he's given them some valuable minutes. He's been able to give them that big body against the Carolina bigs. He's come up with some really good rebounds, and he gives you an additional 5 fouls, especially if one of your other guys come off due to foul trouble.
Ball out of bounds to North Carolina. And Nix, Stallings, they have to manage his time because, frankly, he can't go but more than 3 to 4 minute spurts if you want him at optimum level.
Right, you have to get him in those little bursts of minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, give him a blow, and that's one of the things that they've been able to do, and he has been productive in this first half.
Pitt still in that zone. Bradley, short baseline jumper, good.
Bradley's one of those guys that can step outside of the paint and knock that down. We talked about the bigs from Carolina being able to switch it up a little bit. But Carolina doing a really good job of being able to get the ball to their bigs and not settle for those three-point shots in the zone.
Young into the lane. 6 to shoot for Pitt. Down to 3. Jones against Berry. Excellent defensive effort by the junior. Berry gets it back, is fouled.
And this is when Carolina exceeds 28-25. Carolina on top. Those fouls and established himself as an intimidator. He's been really active for him, and you see he's come up giving them big plays, rebounds. And I think that one of the things for them, and we talked about it, is that they have to give him those bursts, but he has been very positive for Kevin Stallings and what they've been able to do, being able to give their bigs some really good minutes.
He's listed at 6'11", 300 pounds as Berry hits his first free throw, but we think that might be a tad generous because he's north of 300 pounds.
I would put a little money on that. But again, we talked about his impact on the game. He has given Kevin Stallings an opportunity to rest Young, Artis, and even Jeter when he's in foul trouble.
Berry now has 8 points as he hits both free throws. Young for Pitt, count it.
Saw the pin down by Cameron Johnson, and I told you, big guys from Carolina are not used to coming off of picks. And I think that's one of the things that Pitt is able to do, is exploit the bigs and put them out on the perimeter.
Field goals, as you saw, beginning to level out on both sides. And Michael Young gets it going. The lookout, 20 points a game, leads the nation, leads the ACC rather in scoring, and he can explode.
Well, with this group that they have on the floor for Carolina, I think that you break down that zone by being able to get inside. We talked about the high-low.
Shot clock at 6. Jackson rises, contested 3 in.
How about that at the buzzer? Justin Jackson being able to come down and knock down that 3.
He now has 10 points, does the junior from Trumbull, Texas for North Carolina. Johnson still looking to get into a groove, hurt his left shoulder in that weight loss. No contact for him Thursday and Friday. Young misses an off-balance jumper. Artis battles for the rebound. Doesn't get it. Berry, the little man in there, fighting for the rebound.
When I thought he missed Cameron Johnson wide open underneath the basket.
Jackson into Luke May. Nice ball movement by Carolina.
This is what Carolina does. They get out in transition, make the extra pass. Jackson to May. And these are those little spurts that they get on where they'll go on a nice 7-0 run, as you see Kevin Stallings calling for a timeout. Carolina being able to get back into it. You see Justin Jackson knocking down that 3-point shot. And then after that, a little extra passing. Justin Jackson down to Luke May for the finish. Carolina can score on you, and then they turn the tide.
(35-28) North Carolina over Pitt. 1:40 remaining. The Ram Power Play is brought to you by Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram. Wednesday night's game against Duke was a magical one for the Syracuse Orange. With the game tied and just 5 seconds remaining, John Gillen drove the length of the court and banked in a 30-footer at the buzzer to give Syracuse its second buzzer-beating win of the ACC season. And that's our Ram Power Play. Ram Trucks, Guts, Glory, Ram. Syracuse, one of those teams. Some say they're in, some say they're not. I speak of the NCAA tournament, of course.
I'm going to say that win against Duke, I think that puts them over, because you talk about the fact that the conference is so deep, and you got any night, one team can beat the next. And my fact, you get down to 9 teams get into the tournament.
Chris Jones gets into the lane, no basket, offensive foul called on Jones.
Well, I think one of the things that we always talk about the Carolina guards, and one of the things that's so underrated, is that Joel Berry is probably one of the better defensive guards outside of being so offensive minded. You see the penetration here, and you see Berry get there, and he's set. He's outside the lane. It's going the other way.
Well, Roy Williams, and you and I were chatting with him before the game, told us that He thinks Joel Berry's having an outstanding season. A lot of attention being turned to Justin Jackson, rightfully so, but he just loves the man that makes this engine go, Joel Berry.
Well, in order to win, as you said, great pass from Jackson and Kennedy Meeks being able to stay alive with it. But you can't win in this league without having great, not good, great point guard play. And I think this is one of the things that makes Carolina so good is that he's a defensive stopper. He can give you buckets, and the fact that he runs and he knows how to be able to get the ball to the right people.
Johnson guarded by Pinson into the lane. Foul will be called on Pinson.
Well, Carolina, we talked about them spreading the ball. And how about the vision from Justin Jackson, realizing that, okay, I got my big guy there. Kennedy Meeks doesn't get the first time, but first one back to it for the end, to put the ball back in. And you talk about Carolina and the fact that this is why they're so good, because they have so many guys that can give you buckets. Johnson comes up with that miss.
Pinson sitting down with his second foul, replaced by Nate Britt. 35 seconds remaining in the half. 37-28. North Carolina on top with the ball. About a 10-second differential on the shot and game clock. Berry kicks it back out. Jackson a deep three.
Whoa. That's a big-time shot. And that's where you see the improvement on Justin Jackson's game, is his ability to knock down those threes.
Time running out of the half. Shot on the way, does not go. North Carolina closes the half on a 10-0 run. Justin Jackson with 13 points in the opening half. 3 of them coming on this very deep shot.
And we've seen him knock down 2 of those already. And love the fact that Justin Jackson gets them going. Carolina going into the half, 40-28.
Coming up on the Hardy's Halftime Report, we'll preview a new show from Raycom Sports and the ACC called A Cut Above, the legacy of New York City basketball in the country. But Brian, you knew that.
I was going to ask you if you were a dinosaur, which one would you be?
Whichever one is agile and fleet. North Carolina opening the half with the ball, leading 40-28. Tar Heels shot 50% from three-point range in the first half. Kennedy Meeks picking up where he left off, hitting the offensive boards.
And that was one of the things I was going to say coming into the second half that Pitt has got to do a better job of, is being able to limit the bigs and those extra offensive touches.
13 offensive rebounds for the Tar Heels. Young into the lane. He will get fouled and go to the line. Great run by North Carolina to end the first half.
Well, and they started it with Justin Jackson knocking down those threes, and then being able to get those easier baskets down to the big. We talked about the fact of making the extra pass, and that's one of the things that Carolina does. 13 assists in the first half. Doesn't hurt when you got guys like Justin Jackson being able to knock down the threes and going off for 13 points.
Isaiah Hicks called for his second foul. That will send Young, a senior from Duquesne, Pennsylvania, to the line. Leading scorer in the ACC. Interesting young man. Chatted with him yesterday during practice. He's a social science major, outstanding student. He's interested in journalism and writing. His favorite writer is W.E.B. Du Bois, the great intellectual of the 20th century. So interesting young man to chat with as he hits his second free throw.
Impressive. You see Pitt trying to extend a little bit. Artists out there guarding Joel Berry. Interesting if Pitt has to get some stops.
Johnson coming up with the steal as you say it. Jeter back to Johnson. That brings the house to life.
And this is what they need to do. They've got to get some stops, get some easier baskets. They've been limited in a half-court set. Turn Carolina over, get out in transition. Well, Pitt being able to carve right into that lead a little bit. And one of the things you're going to do that is to get some easier opportunities. See Cameron Johnson being able to be the recipient of that finish. Just got to turn that time. First 5 minutes, very important, second half.
Foul on Chris Jones. His second ball gets away from Carolina. And Johnson takes advantage.
Interesting to see how Roy Williams responds to this run by Pitt. If you're Carolina, you need to slow down a little bit, get into your sets. Can't avoid to allow them to get any confidence right now.
6-0 run by the Panthers. Crowd is into it. Jackson finds Meeks. But defensively, the Panthers were there. They forced a turnover.
Well, you see Pitt coming into the second half, energy up, and if you ask what Kevin Stallings told his guys, is you see Cameron Johnson come up for yet another fast break dunk. Seems like they come up with a lot of different energy right now. Very important to get into this lead.
North Carolina had 2 turnovers in the first half. Tar Heels now have 3 over their last 3 possessions. Pitt turns it over. Carolina up by 8, 17:53 remaining in regulation. Opening moments of the second half. Barry in the lane is fouled.
Dwayne, one of the things that Pitt is doing is that they're switching on the perimeter. And so that last instance, you found out you had Artis on Joel Berry. But then what they're doing also is that Cameron Johnson is down on Kennedy Meeks. Carolina guards has to recognize that mismatch and get the ball inside.
And be mindful, that was the 3rd foul on number 21 for Pitt, Sheldon Jeter. Berry misses. Michael Young comes up with it. Kennedy Meeks over his back. Right now, the energy and momentum favors Pitt.
Oh, obviously, they came in at the beginning of the half, being able to get some easier turnovers. We talked the fact that they struggled in the first half to get points. This is where you get those extra points, get stops, and then get out in transition.
Artis, that converted point guard. Young going hard to the basket. Kennedy Meeks with the excellent defensive play. Tar Heels trying to force the tempo. Hicks working against Artis. Excellent move inside by Isaiah Hicks.
And that's Carolina basketball. You want to get the ball inside. Understand that you've got guys in Isaiah Hicks, Kennedy Meeks, that Pitt has a problem being able to contain them one-on-one.
Nice recognition by Cameron Johnson, finding Chris Jones.
Well, and that was a great play by Chris Jones, realizing that Joel Berry was trying to deny him, going back door, being able to get that absorbed. You see the penetration here. Great cut by Chris Jones, going back door and being able to handle it. And these are those plays that if you're Pitt, you have to come up with, because you need to change this momentum. That's something that they've been able to do in this first 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Pinson sits down with his 3rd foul, replaced by Nate Britt as Jones misses the free throw. 44-36 North Carolina. Tar Heels led by 12 at the break. Berry chases down his miss. Reset for the Tar Heels. Hicks against Jones. Looks like a mismatch. He gets the roll.
And another opportunity off of a second chance that you get the ball inside. And this is where I think that Isaiah Hicks is so valuable for North Carolina. You see, gathering himself, realizing that he can get where he wants, being able to absorb the contact and finish. As you see the big fella Knicks come in, I think Kevin Stallings realizes he's got to get a little bit more meat out there.
And also, that was Sheldon Jeter's 4th foul. Well, so now Knicks has to play minutes sustained. And they're going to, Jeter has played so well lately.
Well, and we talked about the fact that when Knicks, he comes out in only burst of minutes. How's that going to affect them when Knicks is going to have to come out after 3 or 4 minutes?
Hicks to complete the 3-point play. Gets it to go. North Carolina now back up 47-36. Jeter will have to sit and watch.
Seems like momentum has shifted back in Carolina's favor. We talked earlier. Pitt seemed like they were being able to get away as far as get back into this game. Carolina being able to get the ball inside.
When Knicks grabs the basketball, it looks like a grapefruit in his hand. Big 3 for Pitt. Chris Jones. Jackson jumper, top of the key, 3-pointer.
Well, Pitt has to do a better job. No one showed on that pick and roll. You can't give Justin Jackson, who we talked about, a dangerous three-point shooter, a wide open look.
Jackson now with 16 points to lead all scorers. Nix again with the ball. Gets it back, big fella. Gives it up. Thought he was going to drive. 8 to shoot for Pitt.
Justin Jackson has been the guy that's been the difference in the day. Knocking down to 3, going into break. Carolina 50-39. Numerous amount of ways. Today has been knocking down that three-point shot, and he has been a guy that's caught fire. You can't leave him, and he has been the sole responsibility in this second half, where Carolina has been able to separate themselves.
And we're getting down to the point where decisions will be made about postseason honors. Some great names up there. Who do you think it comes down to?
I think it comes down to Kennard and Jackson because of them and what they've been able to do for their teams. But John Collins, how about what he's been able to do for Wake Forest? He has been sensational.
Jackson 16 on the day. Turnover by Pitt. If you had to vote right now, whom would you cast your vote for?
I would have to say Luke Kennard, because on that Duke team and what they've been able to do, and then you talk about the heralded freshman class, and he still was that guy that coming into the season, no one expected him to have the year that he's having. I just think that he's been phenomenal, but I think close second for me has been Justin Jackson.
Okay, North Carolina fans, that was Brian Oliver voting for Luke Kennard. Jackson misses the 3. Panthers opportunity to cut the margin. Deep 3 by Jones, in and out. This time, Jackson driving, kicks it out. Barry. Nix corrals. No one gets close to him when he gets the ball.
And you see Carolina trying to push the tempo a little bit. I think that they realize that this is their opportunity now to get out and try to put some distance between them and Pitt.
This time, Barry in the lane finds a spot along the baseline. North Carolina up 52-39. Barry with 8 points, now 10.
But one of the things that Carolina does so good at is the fact that they push and they have their space. And you saw that last time, Barry being able to get to the basket, and it doesn't allow the Pitt guys to be able to get and help. See the transition. He said, Roy Williams talked about the extra pass. Barry being able to get down and get to the basket, and this is what makes Carolina so good. We talk about their bigs and the rebounding and the points in the paint, but that's tempo and the fact that they want to get down and then get those easier runs.
Nate Britt picked up his first foul. Bradley replaces Meeks for Carolina and promptly gets called for a foul, his second.
And I think what Pitt needs to do is create more opportunities for Young to be able to penetrate. He's shown that at any given moment he can get past the bigs from Carolina, draw those fouls, force them to help, and then that's when he can do the dish and get those open 3 points for Johnson or Jones.
Jackson takes a breather for North Carolina as Pinson comes in, and Artis with that field goal now is tied for 12th place all time on Pitt scoring list with Carl Crosser. Barry, baseline again, reverse. Luke May grabbed the carom. Foul called on Pitt.
Well, Dwayne with 13, a little bit more than 13 minutes left to go. How is Pitt going to get back into this game? They not only have to score, but they've got to limit Carolina to these second chance opportunities. You see Luke May come up with yet another offensive rebound. They've got to be able to play the solid defense and limit Carolina to only one possession.
That's one way to do it.
Well, and Joel Berry, we talked about him and the fact that he picks his spots. He understands when to get others involved and when to be aggressive. He's that guy you definitely got to put a hand up on.
He has 13 points. Artis finds Young driving into the lane, kicks it back to Jones. 9 to shoot for Pitt. Young, English didn't go for him. Luke May coming up with the rebound for North Carolina. Tar Heels in command, 55-41.
Great rotation by Carolina. Understand that they've got to give a hand. Nice Nice high-low over to Bradley.
That's beautiful basketball.
Well, you saw Tony Bradley realize that he had a smaller guy on him and sealing him. Great recognition by Theo Pinson being able to lob the ball over.
7 points for the freshman, Bradley. 10-2 scoring run for the Tar Heels. Opportunity for them to get more. They wanted to go to Bradley again. They liked what they saw on the last possession.
Well, they understand against Cameron Johnson's trying to front him, but then you see no weak side right there, and he's giving him a big target. And one of the things you tell your big guys is to give me a target to throw ball to.
North Carolina rolling. You're watching the ACC Network. Brooklyn, first round action starts at noon on Tuesday, March 7th, and the ACC Network will cover all 14 games, including the championship in prime time on Saturday night. These North Carolina Tar Heels are the reigning champions, and Brian, they have so many quality parts, and the only other team in the conference you think about is Florida State. How do you combat a team like this that has so many weapons to throw at you?
Well, in the times that Carolina's lost, they have been out-rebounded, which is something that's very difficult to do. You've got to have firepower and guys that can actually score and be able to wither the storm, as you see Joel Berry be able to get to the basket. And I think that what Roy Williams has been able to do over the years has been successful, is that he's got guys in it. And you see right now, going to break, Joel Berry being able to get to the cup, finish up strong, Carolina up 59-41.
Double meat and cheese, classic. Grilled onions and Thousand Island.
You see Kennedy Meeks being able to get in there, making a good defensive play, but then how about two guys get out in transition, and you see the extra pass, Kennedy Meeks being able to convert that, and that's one of the things that Carolina does. And we talked about how dangerous they are and the fact that they score so many players.
Talk about a dangerous guy. James Conner, Pitt's football player, of course, a well-chronicled and highly successful career at Pitt as a football player, battled cancer, is now cancer-free, and is headed to the combines next week. And we hope his future is bright and long. (59-43), North Carolina leading Pitt. Tar Heels, May saves it. 7th, Woods blocked by Nix, and that gets a roar out of the crowd. The big fella's really hustling. Cameron Johnson baseline drive.
We talked about the big fella elevating. You see the penetration. Big fella said, "Not in here, little fella. Get that out of here." And then he gives him a little bit of a stare.
You know, considering his brother is a fullback with the Steelers, you wonder if, you know, Narduzzi or somebody might, Coach Narduzzi here at Pitt might not come up and said, you know, with your footwork, have you ever thought about being a defensive end? As Cameron Johnson hits his first free throw. Yeah, maybe he could tackle James Conner. Might be the only guy in the building that could do that.
I want to make sure that whenever that goes down, that I got 1 foot out the door just in case.
Nate Britt will take a seat. Jackson back in. Cameron Johnson gets his second free throw. Johnson now with 9.
Pitt extending their pressure right now, trying to force Carolina to something they normally don't do, to another turnover.
Great hustle by Johnson. Didn't quite complete the turnover, but this young man is playing some pretty inspired basketball right now.
Well, Pitt has gone into another drought, last 220 without a bucket, and this is not how they get back into this game. We talked earlier is that they've got to get some turnovers, get some easier baskets in transition. If you're Carolina, you keep doing what you do. Get the ball inside and let your bigs go to work.
Shot clock at 6 for North Carolina. May inside from Jackson, doesn't get the roll. Keeps it alive, turns it over to Pitt. This is senior day at Pitt. Panthers started off with a lot of emotion in the lead. Tar Heels settled in. Nix misses close. Bradley against Nix. And 25 is called for the foul. You think he's getting gassed? Because he's not accustomed really to playing long stretches.
Well, and I think what basically he has to show and then recover. That last play, you saw Theo Pinson do a really good job realizing that he forced Nix to have to show. Bradley dips down, and then he's got to recover on the pass. And that's one of the things that Tony Bradley does a really good job of, being able to set that high pick and roll and then stay big. A lot of times you want to make sure that your big guys give you a target, and that's something that he does really, really well.
Nix has 3 fouls. Isaiah Hicks comes in for Luke May. Bradley in high school, a 3-time National Honor Society member. Very good student, big upside for the 6'11" freshman. Misses the second. Young reverse, beautiful shot.
And that's what he needs to do. Carolina doesn't have anyone, as you see them get convert. We talked about defense to offense. How about saying, okay, you score, we're going to run it back down the other way. Carolina pretty much negating that play by Young by being able to sprint and get it at basket.
Artis off the mark. Bradley with the rebound. Tar Heels running again. Woods was looking for Hicks. Johnson comes up with it. Might go all the way. Looking in the corner for Jones. Young has it. One-on-one against Jackson. Count it.
Michael Young on display. We talk about him being able to get to the basket. How about the penetration? And so you see that one time being able to blow past Jackson and being able to absorb the contact and finish. Michael Young has been able to get to the cup at will.
Barry back into the game as 7th Woods sits down. Nix will sit down for Pitt. Wilson in. Bradley now has 3 fouls, so Kennedy Meeks will replace him. That will send Young to the line.
Well, and Dwayne, if you look at the lineup that Carolina has as far as Hicks and Meeks, one of them is going to have to guard Michael Young. And I think that if you're Kevin Stallings, you realize that now is the time to be able to make your run. He's got a nice little rhythm going. He's been able to score the last 2 buckets. You got to find a way to get the ball into him and let him go at the bigs.
Young now with 17 points. He had 19 points and 10 rebounds in that loss to Chapel Hill on the 31st of January. A bit of life being shown by the Panthers. Hicks with 7 to shoot, drops it off to Pinson.
Nice drop off by Hicks. Theo Pinson is that guy that's always going to kind of hang around there looking for opportunities. He's real active, got to keep a body on him.
Theophilus Alfonso Pinson. Love that name. Young, 3. Jackson comes up with it. Barry being guarded by Damon Wilson. Foul on Wilson, his second.
You see Barry on his penetration. A lot of times he penetrates to finish, but if you've noticed that with Carolina, they'll have their guard penetrate baseline and then that opposite guard realizing they're looking for that extended pass. And that's what makes them so good, because you've got everyone on the floor being able to get the ball to their open guys.
Around the ACC is brought to you by Flonase Sensimist. Flonase Sensimist Allergy Relief. Some very important games on this Saturday as we head into this stretch drive of the regular season. Virginia up on North Carolina State in Raleigh. How about Clemson against Florida State? Miscommunication between Artis and Jones. Kevin Stallings in his first season at Pitt. Many successful years at Vanderbilt. Meeks seals. Reverse layup is good.
But how about Kennedy Meeks being able to seal off Jeter? Jeter, understand, with 4 fouls, not much he can do. Love the fact that he's able to hold his ground down there and finishing around the cup.
Jeter for 3. Got it. He had 4 3-pointers in that upset at Florida State last Saturday. He had 29 total points, but the foul trouble has hampered him today. Excellent block by Jeter. 7:40 remaining. Artis. And one. Jamel Artis on senior day is not ready to give any ground to the Tar Heels. You're watching the ACC Network. This is a local break.
One of the highest since Michigan State in 2001. But tonight, they're doing even better than that. 18 is the margin. And that's one of the things that makes them so dangerous is the fact that they have those, not big bodies, but active bodies that do so well at being able to get the offensive glass.
Talking to coaches around the league as we've done games, that's the thing that all of them talk about is the relentless way in which the Tar Heels go after rebounds on both ends.
Well, and they beat you in different ways. You talk about they've got the bigs that crash, points in the paint. They are teams that want to push the pace. A lot of different facets that makes them so good.
Along with Brian Oliver, our entire ACC Network crew, I'm Dwayne Ballin, and you're watching Pitt on Senior Day host North Carolina. Joel Berry for three.
And how many times have we seen that during the game is that Pitt plays really good defense, only to have Carolina come up with another possession and be able to knock down a dagger at a three or an easier basket.
Berry now has matched his point total of 19 that he had against Pitt on the 31st of January back at the Smith Center at Chapel Hill. Lead is 70-56. Michael Young, one of the seniors for Pitt, doesn't get it to drop. Brandon Robinson with the ball, one of the freshmen for North Carolina now in the game. Jackson to the basket, and the tip in by Meeks. With that tip in, he now has a double-double.
Well, and you asked earlier, how would this game and Carolina's depth bother Pitt? And so I think that as you get down to the end, fatigue begins to wear because Carolina's running 9 players at you, and they're able to get those extra baskets. You saw that last tip in by Kennedy Meeks.
14 points, 10 rebounds for him. He now has 10 of those double-doubles on the season. 7 to shoot. Jeter baseline. Foul is called on Sheldon Jeter. That is number 5. What a tough way for Senior Day to end for him.
It is, and he definitely had a good game. But how about the rotation by Joel Berry to be able to get there? That's his second offensive foul, and you talked about the fact that Carolina's so good being able to come up with those big plays.
He's consoled by Nix. Jeter, a young man who played at Vanderbilt for Kevin Stallings, transferred here to help instill Stallings' culture. And the way he wanted things done, gets a very well-deserved hand from the Peterson crowd. As he takes a seat, his Panther teammates have quite a mountain to try and scale. 72-56 with 6:03 remaining. They do get a turnover and give it back to North Carolina. Meeks spots Jackson. They come at you in waves.
Well, it's the 50-50 balls. Is that what it is? It's that basically Carolina gets those extra deflections, the turnovers, the rebounds, and that's been the difference in this ball game. Carolina off to a 7-0 run in the last minute and 29 seconds.
And the Tar Heels now have their biggest lead of the game, 18 points, 74-56.
When we talked about the 50-50 balls and then Carolina being able to come up with those plays, and you see that being able to hustle, diving on the floor, this is one of the things that Carolina's done. You see the extra basket, and that's been the difference. Pitt was able to come out and score. But when you talk about Carolina getting the offensive rebounds, and how many times, Dwayne, have we seen those extra possessions that have been daggers and threes and putbacks that basically hurt Pitt today?
Nix, the redshirt junior from Cincinnati, gets his first free throw. Not only is his brother a fullback for the Steelers, but his cousin Derek played at Michigan State. And do you know who his favorite athlete is of all time? Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, I thought
Brian Oliver's probably second. But Wilt Chamberlain is Roselle Nix's favorite athlete of all time. Excellent hustle by Justin Jackson for North Carolina. Tar Heels have the ball and a 74-57 lead. 5:21 remaining in regulation here at Peterson Events Center. Barry thought about a three. This time he pulls the trigger. Up short, Jackson with the rebound. Tar Heels doing it again, offensive rebound.
Well, and that's the thing, is that they've been able to do it, and that's how they beat you. Is that they've got guys that can score, they spread you out, and you saw that last time Justin Jackson finished up, Artis with the finish.
And Artis comes back, and with that basket, he now has sole possession of 12th place on the all-time scoring list at Pitt, surpassing Carl Krause. Jackson looking to add to his 20-point total.
Second chance opportunities has been what Carolina's been able to do. And you see right now the shot by Barry, and how about Justin Jackson? And this is the guy we talked about. He scores in a different amount of ways, always active. You got to put a body on him.
Young and Artis are leading the way right now for Pitt, scoring 17 and 14 points respectively as Artis gets ready to step to the line. Artis, the third leading scorer in the ACC at 19.3 points a game. Those two are trying to become the first ACC team with multiple 20-point scorers since 1989-90. Do you have any idea what the last team to do that in the conference was?
So I like how you queued me up. The last time with Knicks, when he was the first favorite player, and I said Brian Albert, you threw me out there, but now you're going to set me up. I do know that the last time was my buddy Dennis Scott and Kenny Anderson and myself, all averaging over 20 points a game.
Lethal weapon three. Artis now with 16. Meeks inside against Nix. Gets the soft roll. Meeks now has 16 and 10 rebounds. Jackson with the interception. Tar Heels alert on defense today. Jackson looking for a three and gets it.
Did we not say earlier that Carolina was going to be that team that's going to score in bunches? And we talked earlier in the first half when this game was in the 20s that Pitt could not have this game be out in the 80s. And this is what Carolina's done, being able to get out and go.
Tar Heels have now pushed it out to 20 points. Justin Jackson has 23 of those.
This Bojangler fish fillet sandwich.
Welcome back, and one of the things that Carolina has been able to do to be extended this 20-point game, second chance opportunities. They started early of being able to get second chance, and it opens up 3-point shots, 2-point shots, and one of the things that they have been active all afternoon long. You see Kennedy Meeks being able to get it. If it wasn't him, they're kicking the ball out, making the extra pass, knocking down shots where Pitt was not able to get those stops, and it has not stopped. They've been able to do all afternoon long, one opportunity after another, and we talked about the 50-50 balls, and that's one of the things that Carolina has been able to do right now. And if you look at what Roy Williams was talking about earlier, is that he wants to make sure that not only they push the pace, but they stay big, they defend, do the things that they don't want to do, and that's been on display today.
Tar Heels lead at 81-63. Isaiah Hicks picked up his fourth foul. That was allowed Manigault to go to the free throw line. Hicks finding Meeks inside. Nice bounce pass. Meeks completes the play.
Talk about Kennedy Meeks and how agile he is down there. He does a really good job on the rebounding, but I love the fact that he's so agile. And he's done a really good job of being able to go out and defend the Pitt players and Young and Artis as well today.
And in watching him in the conference this year, he frankly appears to be playing harder this year than ever. Barry with another one of those North Carolina rebounds. Nearing the 3-minute mark in regulation. Pinson spots Hicks. High-low basketball.
Well, and Carolina does a really good job of being able to recognize that. I think that the guards understand that they've got Hicks, Bradley, and then also Meeks that do an exceptional job of being able to seal their guys off.
Our performance of the game is brought to you by your local Chevy dealers, and no surprise, number 44, Justin Jackson, has the honor.
Well, you see the 23 points. How efficient has he been? 50% from the three. and this is one of those things that he has not had to force his game. Started out the gate a little slow, but then he picked it up. And this is one of the things that for Carolina, that going in and finishing in the team, is that you see his point production last year going from 12 points a game up to 18. And how about the thing that's more impressive? Last year, 29% three-point shooter, up to nearly 40%. Roy Williams said that was basically just getting into the gym, hard work.
Jamel Artis, one of the seniors for Pitt, hits the second free throw. As time begins to wind down, it becomes apparent that North Carolina is in control. Tar Heels will strengthen that conference lead. Jackson, another deep three. Young with the rebound. Pinson rebound. Tar Heels will be heading to Charlottesville Monday the 27th to take on Virginia. Now Pitt will wait till Tuesday to venture to Atlanta to take on your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Bradley picks up the loose ball, finds Jackson, baseline, turnaround short, miss. North Carolina has 23 offensive rebounds this season. That is a season high. Just referencing the fact that the Tar Heels will go to Virginia. But, you know, though Roy Williams' team has the lead, nothing is easy.
Well, you see them going to Virginia, where Virginia is always good, and then obviously a little bit of redemption in that get-back game against Duke. And so you talk about that there's no easy night off. ACC, arguably the best conference in my opinion.
Arguably?
I mean, there are some people who want to put the Big 12 in there.
I don't see that.
Well, there's
top
some.
to bottom, I don't see
I
that.
understand, and I'm with you, but there are some that talk about the Pac-10 and UCLA, Arizona.
I like UCLA, Arizona fine, but you go 1 through 9, 1 through 10 in the ACC. If you put this Pitt team in the SEC or the Pac-12, where are they?
Oh, yeah, they're definitely. I'm not going to fight with you. It's just that I say that there are some who out there want to say that they think that Carolina, that the ACC is the best, but they want to challenge by the Big 12.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. 1:27 remaining. Panthers tied for 12th. Kevin Stallings will let Jamel Artis come off as he gets a well-deserved round of applause and embraces.
So to go back to your point about how the teams are, how the league is so spread out, I love the fact that this year's ACC tournament is going to be up in Brooklyn. Normally it's in Carolina, and I think that Carolina and Duke, they normally have an advantage. But I think now it shows that a team like this could get on a roll in the tournament and surprise someone.
Artis sits down with 17 points in his final home regular season game. Nate Britt. We're approaching a minute. Roy Williams will make wholesale substitutions as he gets some of his deeper members of the deeper part of the bench onto the court. Now look at those numbers. You know, with some of the wins, that team has to be considered.
Well, you see that their strength of schedule is one of the things that sticks out there to me. And I think at 28, you definitely put yourself in the conversation. I think that you still have to finish out the rest of the season strong and maybe get another win in the tournament.
Well, they have those 2 road games, Georgia Tech, then they go to Charlottesville on March 4th. So there's still opportunity for them to play a larger role in their destiny. Big block by Shea Rush, freshman who is the son of Jerron Rush of UCLA note. Uncles are Kareem and Brandon from Missouri and Kansas respectively. And the big fella is still going. Roselle Nix. 85-67. Tar Heels will not take another shot. They will wind it down. North Carolina comes into Pitt on senior day and successfully turns away the Panthers, winning it 85-67.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.